All right, guys, so the first question you guys asked for was number 3, and it says to find the inverse. So to find the inverse, I'm first going to write this as y equals 4x plus 16. So instead of using f of n, I just used y. Instead of using n, I used x, but they're just variables, so that's okay. Bless you. So to find your inverse, the first step you're going to do is switch x and y. So if I switch x and y, that would give me x equals 4y plus 16. And then the second step when you find your inverse is to solve for y. So if I'm solving for y and I have x equals 4y plus 16, I'm going to subtract 16 to the other side. So I have x minus 16 equals 4y. Divide by 4. And I'm going to get y equals, I have 1 over 4x, so 1/4 x. And a negative 16 divided by 4 is a negative 4. So from looking at my answer choices, I can, eliminate this one with the 3n. I can eliminate the one with the 5n. I can eliminate the one with the 1/5 n. And although it's not written in y equals mx plus b form, A is still our answer. Good? All right. So the next question you guys asked for is number 5. Number 5 is actually one of the easiest ones on the final because it tells you exactly what to do. It says solve by taking the square roots. Before you can take the square root, you have to get the thing that's squared by itself. So if I have a negative 4b squared equals 64, I have to get rid of this negative 4, so I divide by negative 4. And now I have b squared equals negative 16. So directions told me, hey, solve by taking the square root. I take the square root. And then the biggest thing that you guys are going to probably forget here is that when you have a negative, you have to take out an I, because you can't take a square root of a negative, right? So b equals plus or minus. We're going to take out an I, and then what is the square root of 16? 4. So b equals plus or minus 4i. So the only answer that matches that is C. All right, number 6. Oh. So number 6 has the same directions as number 5. Again, solve by taking the square root. So you need to isolate the square. So I have 5b squared plus 1 equals 101. So we need to get b squared by itself so that I can take the square root. Subtract 1. 5b squared equals 100. 5b squared, that means that's multiplication, so I need to divide. So b squared equals 20. Is the thing that's squared by itself? Yes. So take the square root. So b equals plus or minus, well, let's see, 20 is 4 times 5, and 4 is 2 times 2, so since the 2 repeats, that's what I'm going to take out, and what's left inside is that 5. So my answer is D. All right, so the next one you guys asked for was number 12, and it says to solve with the quadratic formula. Most of you guys probably didn't know how to do this because you don't remember the quadratic formula. So negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So I need to identify what a, b, and c are so that I can plug this in. And it's already in standard form, right? ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So it should be fairly easy to identify this. What's a? 5, good. What's b? -4. What's c? 5? Okay. So into my formula over here, I always rewrite it with parentheses. So I have negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So I'm plugging in my variables. I have b is -4, so I have -4 here, and I have a -4 here. Minus 4a, a is 5, and c is 5. All divided by 2a. In this case, since b is a negative, that's what you're going to substitute in. So you're saying, is it always going to be a negative here or a negative here? It just depends what b is. Do you see that? So your formula is always negative b plus or minus b squared. Oh. Can't see the little O. So it's negative b. So I put a negative on the outside, and then I plugged in what b was. Yes. Oh, sorry. Yes. This -4 is always there. All right. So let's simplify now. So I have a negative times a negative right here. What's that? A +4 plus or minus -4 squared. Now, the reason I put parentheses is because you guys need to remember that this is a -4 squared. Not negative times 4 squared. Those are two different things. So what's a -4 squared? +16. Good. Okay, and now I have 4 times 5 times 5. So a negative, what is it? 100? Good. All over 10. So since this is multiple choice, right, we could say, hey, do any of these have a 10 on bottom? I could just automatically know that's my answer. What's the problem with that? There's none with a 10. She's like, well, that didn't work. So we actually have to continue and simplify this. So I'm going to have 4 plus or minus, what's 16 minus 100? -84? Right? Over 10. So anytime there's a negative inside of a radical, what do we know we need to take out? An I. So 4 plus or minus I. And then what is the square root of 84? So 4 and 21. So 2 and 2. So I can take out a 2 and I can leave in that 21. Do we write it like that? I2? 2I, right? So I'm going to erase this I and this 2 and write it properly. It's going to be a 2I. What number goes into 4, 2, and 10? 2. So I'm going to simplify by a 2 here. I'm going to get 2 plus or minus I radical 21 over 5. I divided 84 by 4. Yeah. Okay, so this is what I get. Which answer choice matches that? Well, C has a -2 and a -2, so it's not that. B has a -2 and a -2, so it's not that. So now I have to decide, is it A or is it D? Well, A, yeah. This one's radical 29. That's not what we're talking about, so it has to be A. All right, so 13 says to solve the system. It does not say how we have to do it. So we could graph this, we could do substitution, or we could do elimination. I typically always tend to do elimination, especially when they're both in standard form. So I'm going to look for how do I get opposite coefficients. And I see that I have a 4y and an 8y. What can I multiply the 4y by to get the opposite of 8? Good, a negative 2. So if I multiply this top equation by a negative 2, I'm going to get, let's see, 14x, what is that, minus 8y equals negative 6. And did I do anything to the second equation? No, so I just rewrite it. I have a negative 14x plus 8y equals 6. What happens with my x's? They eliminate. What happens to my y's? They eliminate. What happens here? Yeah, I get 0 equals 0. If everything cancels out and I get 0 equals 0, what's my answer? Good. Infinitely many solutions. When is it no solution? Good. When everything cancels except for one side and you get like 0 equals 12. Because that's never true, so that would be no solution. Okay, in this case we got 0 equals 0, so it is infinitely many solutions. Okay, now looking at number 14, same thing, it says solve the system of equations. It doesn't say how we have to do it. I'm going to label mine equation 1, equation 2, and equation 3. Now, we pretty much only taught you how to do elimination with 3x3s, right? So I'm going to look for an easy variable to eliminate. And a lot of you guys would probably say r, because see how the 3r in equation 1 and the negative 3r in equation 3 would cancel? We could. And then I could do equation 1 and 2 and multiply the top one by 4 and the second one by 3. But I'm going to eliminate s's. The reason I'm choosing s is because it has a coefficient of 1 here. And I like to do those ones. So, I'm going to use the space over here. Let's take equation 1 and equation 2. So if I have a negative 1s and I need the opposite of a negative 3, I'm going to multiply by a negative 3. So that gives me a negative 9r plus 3s plus 12t equals negative 6. Equation 2 I didn't do anything with, so I'm just going to copy it exactly how it is. Okay, if I did this properly, the s is going to eliminate like I want, and I'm going to get a negative 13r plus 6t equals negative 7. Okay, now I'm going to take equation 1 and equation 3. What do I have to multiply equation 1 by? If I'm eliminating s, you have to eliminate the same variable. So if I'm eliminating s and I have a negative 4, what do I have to multiply negative 1 by to get the opposite of negative 4? Good, I have to multiply by negative 4 to get a positive 4, which is the opposite. So negative 12r plus 4s plus 16t equals negative 8. I did nothing with equation 3, so I'm just copying it. Again, s's should eliminate. I get negative 15r and then 16 and 5 make what? 21t equals